debates amongst various publics. Majority of Nigerians have applauded the ruling, while some, including former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, are uncomfortable with the judgment. According to Ibori, the judgment was at odds with the spirit of Section 162(3), subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, which provided for the principles of federation. The naysayers also argued it has also negatively impacted Section 6, which enjoined states to maintain joint local government accounts. For the sake of clarity, the Supreme Court directed that financial allocations be made directly into the accounts of the 774 local governments in Nigeria. Such payments, the judgment affirmed, shall be made to democratically elected local government councils. In addition, the Supreme Court has declared caretaker committees as unconstitutional. It has also barred the state governors from dissolving elected local government councils. Those are actually the summary of what the Supreme Court judgment was. With me in the studio this evening to shed further details on matters arising from the Supreme Court land judgment is Ozo Igbolikwo Gazmora. He's an ENUGU-based attorney and former Commissioner for Information in Enugu State.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure, as a lawyer and as a commentator on national issues,
Yes.
that you would have perused, you would have read the judgment.
Yeah, I've read what is available. The real true copy is not yet out.
From what you read,
Yeah, we've got the snippets.
what are your thoughts?
Well, to be honest with you, I am not very comfortable. Not because of the same reason former Governor Iburi and some others are not comfortable, or the same reason some persons are so happy about that judgment. I'm not comfortable because it is not yet certain what that declaration, what that judgment is set to achieve, other than what is posted out there as financial autonomy for the local governments. You see, that judgment, perhaps when it comes out in full, we'll get to understand whether it actually touches some areas of the law, that is the Constitution, for that financial autonomy to be achieved. I'll give you an example. Section 7, sub 6A says the National Assembly makes laws as to expenditure and funding of the states from the general revenue. B says the State Assembly makes laws as to the revenue, effect of revenue of the state on the local government. So if you grant financial autonomy to the local government and you leave making the law to the State Assembly, it is not actually a financial autonomy, right? That is one aspect. Then that section 162 sub 3 is talking about. The first question that should even arise is, as a federalism, what are the constituents of our federalism? That is the federating units. Is it the state? Is it the state and the local government? If it is the state that are the federating units, this autonomy, where does it leave the local government? Can the local government be a federating unit? Is it possible for it to be a federating unit? You remember the case of Attorney General of Lagos against Attorney General of the Federation, 2004.
Yeah, when Tinubu was governor.
When Tinubu was governor. This thing came up. What brought about it initially, the initial ground was that the Tinubu administration created local government areas. And the Obasanjo administration said no. The federal government was not going to feed the newly created local governments. That mobilization of revenue of the federation would be to the existing local government. Now, it brought that confusion because eventually the Tinubu administration created about 47 local governments from 20. So now the thing went to court. And the creation, Section 8, vests the power of creating a local government in a state in the state assembly, only to make returns to the National Assembly. Right? So in other words, creating the local governments by the states was proper. But then the federal government says it is not going to release federal government revenue to those newly created local governments. You know, at the end of the day, the federal government seized the revenue going to Lagos State, and for a very long time, kept it for a very long time. It was eventually when the decision, that's the judgment of the Supreme Court came out, because another issue arose. Did the federal government have the power,
yes, to
withhold the money accruable to the local government? And the Supreme Court decision was that it didn't have the power. And that was why Yar'Adua administration released everything to Lagos State. Now, in this particular judgment, although to be fair to the justices, I have not read it in full, because I'm not going to say, because I have read snippets in the media, that I have read it. As a lawyer, I'm supposed to read the full judgment. But from what we have gotten, a lot of things are yet not out. It is not yet out on what it does with Section 7(6)(b).
the powers of the
powers of the State Assembly to regulate spending.
And even
funding
make laws.
Yes, to make laws for the local governments. So you now find out that if that is not taken care of, then, well, that financial autonomy, I don't know. So what about the law that talks about Section 6, which says joint account? Is this new decision removing it? Which I doubt, because that decision, there's no way the decision of a Supreme Court will remove an element of the Constitution. It can only interpret it. So it is when it comes out, when we have the full details, that we will know whether it is indeed a financial autonomy. Because if you get to the fourth schedule of the Constitution, that is on the local government. You know, when people talk about political autonomy, I don't really understand what they mean. Maybe because they now say the local government chairman must be elected for them to receive this thing, and that they cannot be summarily dissolved. Yeah, maybe. Well, with that you can say they now have a measure of autonomy, but it doesn't end there. You know, we are in Nigeria, and some people are quite smart. Okay. I was actually reviewing this with some friends yesterday, and somebody was saying, what about the governor getting the prospective chairman to sign their resignation letters before they were even accepted as candidates? And when you sign it that you have resigned without putting a date, okay. They will allow you to contest the election. When you don't behave, they will settle some councillors who will now say you have resigned. They will not put a date on the paper and say you have resigned.
Yeah, because quite a couple of people have this contention.
Unless this new judgment has altered it. When we see the new judgment in full, we know. But the truth is that the local government is just like a parastatal in the state. Of course, parastatals are governed properly, but unfortunately in this case, because of the free money that is coming from the federation account, they are not governed properly. They are manipulated. They are indeed the conduit for everything. That's a local government will run from year to year, no single project anywhere. And not that the allocations are not coming. They are coming. And they are kept or used warehoused or squandered by the state. I do not think that, for instance, in ENUGU State, that you have had a local government chairman who has seen the full allocation in the last, well, I don't know, maybe in the administration of Sullivan Chime, but in the others, I have not seen, I'm not aware of one that sees even a quarter of that allocation.
Well, I was a player in the Sullivan administration.
Yeah.
And even in a previous episode of this program, I did say that for the 4 years I was local government chairman, I can't remember one, perhaps the last month when I was leaving, that we had issues with allocation being withheld. One, the explanation was there were a few of our colleagues then they were quite frivolous in their spending. And it was a transitional month. So that was the only time I think an amount or allocation coming to Legon was warehoused. What happened during that time was the Planning Commission, you know what has come to you. And the Planning Commission will kind of sit with you and say, what are you doing with this money in the next 4 months? That's why we're able to buy tractors, we're able to buy graders, bulldozers, and in fact, firefighting equipment for those. And we're able to buy vehicles for police. And we started what you call the local government state joint road projects in the state. And if you know the Apasha, the old Port Harcourt road, which was done between Ogu,
yes,
Nkano West,
yeah,
and then that was what will happen. And even at then, what was our own contribution? Basically between 20-30%, the state government provided the rest.
Okay.
But it was a novelty that local governments could actually do that.
Yeah.
But like you said, we can't speak for that. But also, there were other matters arising from that. One was, I had conversation with some people yesterday, and the issue was, this judgment commenced 2 months ago. And in a matter of about 60 days,
yeah,
it was dispensed with. So there was a speedy trial. As a lawyer, you know, matters go to Supreme Court, and even to file it, even to get a mention, even to get a date, it takes months, some up to a year.
yeah.
And somebody said there must be something fishy about these 60 days, 2 months. Did you address a man to that? It was quite fast.
Yes. Indeed, there is nothing unusual about it. There's nothing unusual.
Tell our viewers.
Because, you see, that what you had required only filing of processes.
Okay.
Once you file the processes, it wasn't requiring appearing in court for hearings and the rest of them, because it is a constitutional thing. What they needed was to file the processes, and the justices would read them. Of course, where it was necessary, they probably invited opinions of legal luminaries.
Okay.
That is the tradition. They invited their opinions. It is AG Federation against AG of states. Just filing of the processes. It's left for the Supreme Court to ask for opinions of some amicus curiae, that's friends of the court, even some retired justices and some others. Ask them of their opinion because it is interpretation of the Constitution. And once those opinions are brought in, they are all put side by side and weighed, and a decision is made. Or we know when eventually we get the judgment, we'll know how far-reaching it is. Because if it is one theme, that theme being financial autonomy, that is sending federation allocation directly to them, fine. Or political autonomy, saying that only elected local government councils would be funded from federation account, that is fine.
Okay, you had alluded to that, but you might speak to it further. And that is to the issue that some people argue, rightly or wrongly, that the Supreme Court judgment was actually an attempt, an ambush of the Constitution. They tried to amend some section of the Constitution, usurping the function of the National Assembly, and trying to amend the Constitution through the back door. You talked about Section 6. That's about
Section 7, sub 6B, sub 6A. That is the federal. That's the National Assembly makes laws for states.
Okay.
While the State Assembly B makes laws for local government.
Then Section 6, the joint local government account.
Yes. Section 6 is joint local
so
government
now,
account.
that's what I said. If now they begin to send the money directly to local government, would they be bypassing that section?
You mean bypassing that
joint account?
Yes, now. That is what I'm telling you, that the judgment, we don't know what it says about Section 6. We don't know what it says. And we don't know what it says about that 6B, Section 7, 6B, and what it says about 162 sub 3.
Okay.
That's the constant unit. Are you remitting money to the local government directly as a federating unit? Or what? That is, remember, it is not just sending them money. It is leaving them to determine entirely what to do with the money. You understand? Meanwhile, the position of the law is that the local government is under the state. What I think is that the federal government is being simplistic in dealing with the entire situation. That thing has to be well looked into. The decision taking, whether we have to retain the local government as a federating unit, or we leave it as a part of the state, which can be called, if you like, you call it local government council, you call it a local government area, you call it local government area council, or whatever. It was an issue in the previous litigation between AG Lagos and AG Federation. So these are the things that will have to be sorted out. It's not as straight as people think. It's not just an issue of what they call the word or phrase, financial autonomy or political autonomy. No. There are certain things that will impede that autonomy in law, and you can never achieve it. Well, when the money last year with Section 6 and that Section 7, 6B, you nail the money. You haven't removed them.
Okay, we'll just take a short break. When we come back, we're going to look at a script that talks about the duties and functions of local government.
Yeah.
And see to what extent the governors have usurped, so to speak, the total functions of local government.
Yeah, they
In
have.
some states, what you may have is a unitary government, where from the state capital, governors decide what local governments should do, should not do, whether it is the market, motor parks, virtually everything, even in revenue collection.
Yes.
So don't go anywhere. We'll take a short break. You are still watching Uncommon Conversations on Signature Television. We're still reaching you from our studios in ENUGU, Coal City, the capital of Southeast Nigeria. My guest is still Ozo Iboneku Ogasmora.
Welcome back.
Thank you. One issue that has, let's take a look at this, functions of
Local government.
local governments.
Yes.
Local governments have the duty to take care of abattoirs,
Yes.
radio licenses, some road networks, of course, our local government chairman, maternities, hospitals, and the like. Even, so especially markets. Markets are the preview of local governments.
Yes.
But somehow, the functions are many, but somehow, even in revenue collection, surprisingly, also, in most states, these functions have been taken over by the state governments. And it leaves me wondering, even if, like you say, it's an agency of government or a department of government, they should have certain rights and privileges. They don't seem to exist.
Well, to be honest with you, what you have in local government is, you can call it double jeopardy, because the states are after the local government funds, and in the process, they succeed in dispossessing the local government. Then they now act as if some of the functions of the local government are non-existent, while some, which can easily turn to good excuses or cover up, they took in as their own functions. It is not surprising that it is happening, because in reality, the local government system has not developed in Nigeria. The local government system elsewhere is the bedrock of civil administration. There is no civil administration without the local government system. You know, in some places they call it county. You know, some countries they call it county. Some other countries they call it other names, provinces and the rest of them, or divisions. But in our own, it is the conduit. It is the port for feasting. You see, in Nigeria, one of the biggest problems we had, a fundamental problem, was unification of the local government system. The local government system was not unified before 1976. The local government system in the north ought not be the same with that in the east or west. Do you know that in some emirate councils, some palaces have two local governments inside one palace? The purpose is to allocate money to the big man. Allocate federal money to the big man. That was the purpose. That was the purpose. Now, it also reflects the traditional systems of those societies where they have age-old chieftaincy systems, like you have aristocracies. Those things were not existing in the southeast or parts of the south before. But in the attempt to unify the so-called unified local government system, introduced by the Obasanjo administration, his deputy there, Yaradua, was the chairman of the committee, the federal government committee that unified that local government system and introduced all these things. That now touches on the unitary system you mentioned. If you say the local governments in Nigeria will have to be one, unified, then you are talking about unitarism. Why should the local government system in Kano be the same with the local government system in Enugu State. We do not have the same tradition. The way they are governed traditionally is not the way we are governed traditionally. Why we are governed by Omona or the Oha in the various communities, they are governed by aristocrats, by potentates, some big chiefs, which before 1913 was foreign here, completely foreign here. There was never a thing there. You know, some people out of ignorance will tell you we had chieftaincies in some parts of Igbo land before colonialism. They talk about our nature and this. The truth is that there was never such. The person you call Obi of our nature was, you know, primus inter pares, first among the Abalanzes.
Balances of
Just the most senior of the Abalanzes. It wasn't an aristocrat as such. So that is one of the problems. So you are bound to have a great deal of problems in the local government system, especially as it relates to supervision or control or usurpation by the state government. Because one, the local government system in Nigeria is a sharer of the Nigerian sharing policy. Right? It's a partaker. The state government is reliant on the federation account allocation. Now, the local government system that should be the foundation of our values, our traditional values, to indicate the coloration of Nigeria, is now made to be a sharer, a partaker in the joint account allocation system. Now, everybody is waiting. What are the revenue channels for the local government? What you are showing on screen now shows the revenue channels. Licensing of vehicles,
Yes.
licensing of bicycles, license operating abattoirs, and the rest of them. Do they do it now?
No.
They don't do it. They are even behaving like states.
They don't.
They don't do it. So you now find that the conflict is systemic. It's not created by the individual local government chairman. It's created from there at the center, because the center has made them to wait for the almost 80 million every month. Every month. And then VAT, you get this every month. They are waiting for it. And when it comes, 70% may be embezzled, except in some cases where the governor will tell you, you have to do it. Like you mentioned, the planning commission, the local government planning commission will ask you, this money is expected, what are you going to do with it? And maybe there's also an evaluation system where somebody will come and say,
This is what I've done.
This money has been allocated, supposedly used, what did you do with that? Once you have that kind of it, then you are likely to have a good local government system. You see, Nigerians always operate big. The local government chairmen and the councils are not supposed to be as big as they are made to be, or they make themselves to be. Like you now, one governor was buying cars for councillors and the rest of them. Some people were saying the persons who will be councillors are to be university graduates. No, it should not be that.
They must come from the people.
They must come from the people. The people who are capable of telling you the necessary track roads to the farm, to be maintained with culverts, to be widened, to be made passable by bicycles and motorcycles. Give you the proper track roads to connect one community to the other. That is actually the economy. Both the economy of the local government and the economy of the state. If it becomes easy for somebody from this community without coming to that expressway, which is like a slaughter slab, because of accidents, people moving from one local community to the other and from there to the other without any interaction with the so-called federal highways or state highways, making it so simple, leaving them in their sedate life. That is the local government system.
There's an issue I just want us to look at, because I don't know, our time must be running. It has to do with, I think without considering that this local government now get their money direct from federation allocation and then expend as they deem fit. That means they'll be paying traditional rulers.
Exactly.
It therefore presupposes that they will also want to show interest in who becomes a traditional ruler. Because now, traditional rulers are appointed, dismissed, suspended from the state.
By the states.
By the state.
Yeah, that is true. But actually,
that's one. I want to take it holistically. Then the other is about the local government development centers.
Okay.
I may be elected the chairman. I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, that thing does not exist.
Yeah.
Do you foresee some constitutional issues there?
Really, I do not think it's a constitutional thing. Because, okay, maybe in that of traditional rulers, there may be a constitutional issue. Because in reality, most of the states, what is the law? The chieftaincy law, although in ENUGU state, the chieftaincy law leaves it with the state. But in many states, it is the local government.
Yes, it actually should be the local government.
And if it is the local government, then the local government should have a hand in the making of the Igwe or the Eze. And the local government will now be able to remove them, if they want to remove them, discipline them, direct them. That's where the law...
But because, you know what do you mean? A governor sits in the high office of the state capital, decides for a man who lives virtually 1,000 kilometers away from him.
Yeah, who lives abroad even.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Virtually in most states, including our own states, we have diaspora Igwes.
Yes, there are many. There are many.
And because governors are in a closed air conditions, they don't know whether they stay
Or they don't.
Or they don't.
They know, but the truth is that for some reasons, those people were made Igwes. There were some certain reasons, not because the governors didn't know. There ought to be supervision. Even the commissioner for chieftaincy ought to supervise them, ought to say what has to be done. So it is not as if that thing is going to bring a conflict. And when you tell them to, tell the local government chairman to now pay the traditional rulers, you know, they will also determine who becomes the traditional ruler.
Of course.
And they are going to discipline them, and they are going to limit the number of traditional rulers. Where the others are asking to be given traditional rulers, they may find it very, very difficult to do that. So you will have a situation where there will certainly be a conflict. Even political conflict will have to be part of it. There will be political conflict. In all these things you just mentioned, there will be serious political conflict. But I do not see, well, until that judgment comes out, we are not sure the local government, this local government will have the kind of autonomy people are jubilating for. No.
Okay, also Gazimora, I think time is no longer our friend, but I'm going to make a promise. You will find as soon as that judgment comes out.
Yes.
You take a hold of it.
Yeah.
And
before
then,
Tuesday we'll have it.
Yeah, when you have it and you've gone through it,
yeah,
we'll do a return match of this conversation.
Definitely.
Because we'll be in a better position to enlighten our audience, enlighten those who are watching us,
yes,
on the on what that judgment is all about.
Yes. Yeah.
So until then, I just want to thank Ozo Ibonekwo Gazimora. He's the Enugu-based attorney, former commissioner for information in Enugu State, for finding time to shed this light on the judgment of the Supreme Court that happened yesterday. It's still sketchy.
Yeah, it is.
From his analysis, it's still sketchy.
It is.
So we do hope that as soon as he has the full judgment, we'll get back to it, study it, and come back for, as Ijami would say you repeat the wedding.
Yeah.
You repeat the wedding.
Yeah.
So then, thank you also.
Thank you very, very much.
And of course, don't forget that same time, Monday, you have a fresh edition of this program.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
The fuel pump price, which is very high, is affecting the spending habits of citizens. It's making it very hard. If fuel subsidy is to be reintroduced, I think it will make spending habits of consumers to be less, and the unit price of commodities will reduce because the transportation costs will reduce, which will make life easy for us to live.
It's really an issue that has been lingering for a very long time now. I remember coming down here to this venue today and I saw the queue in the NNPC filling station, and I feel that this is part of the reason why we're having the hike in prices of things, and something can be done. The NNPC can do something about this to make sure that fuel is readily available to every part of Nigeria.
Like now I'm doing business and I want to purchase something. I can't buy it normal price. The price will go higher, and at the end of the day I cannot even get what to eat. I cannot see money to buy what I will eat with my baby. So it's really very hard for us to survive.
The issue is quite alarming and so disheartening, because most of us have a lot of things to do. Like where you used to go to 200 is now 500. Where you used to, somebody that is an average worker, maybe a sales girl that is being paid 30K. Imagine your transport fare every day. You might just, half of your money will be gone for just transportation. It doesn't only affect our transportation, it also affects our daily living. The thing used to, even biscuit, that one hurts me. I'm seriously saying it. Biscuit I used to buy 16 naira is now 120. And 150 on is now 300. Imagine students like us, how we are going to be surviving and how we are going to be managing ourselves. Some of us in school, they are the one catching for ourselves. So when you combine these two school activities and daily living, it's quite alarming.
To be honest, me, in school, I trekked from the hostel to the gate because the transport fare was 70 naira, but now it is 150. So the increment is is so overwhelming that I prefer trekking. Like I rather trek than to spend 150 naira. It's a lot on transport, and the distance is actually so short compared to what it was before.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Barry Kumo Ado. In the headlines, consumers groan under high electricity tariff. Speaker Abbas applauds President Tinubu for correcting past mistakes. United Arab Emirates delivers humanitarian aid to Lebanon. And Red Cross delivers 17 tons of healthcare aid to Beirut. Details shortly. Reports indicate that several firms have shut down and many others on the verge of collapse as a result of a high cost of electricity tariff. Individuals and other categories of consumers, especially those categorized as Band A customers, are also lamenting over the effect of a tariff hike on their daily lives. Correspondent Chinemere Mikegunam has been feeling the pulse of consumers as a result of a tariff hike.
When President Bola Tinubu assumed office last year was his announcement about the removal of fuel subsidy. That singular pronouncement, as expected, snowballed into an astronomical increase in the prices of virtually every goods or services in the country. Then came the upward review of electricity tariff and the categorization of customers, in which those listed under Band A now having to pay about 209 naira 50 kobo per kilowatt hour, as against the previous 33 naira per kilowatt hour. Not even the End Bad Governance protest of August 2024 could make the president back down and review the policies. And overwhelmed by the outrageous electricity billing system, citizens still want the government and regulatory authorities to feel their pain.
Like where I'm staying at, even though that I always off it as I'm coming out and go back, I pay not less than 15,000 in a month, which is very high.
You can't compare it. You can't compare it. So? This one now is very, very excessively expensive. You understand? It's excessively expensive.
The national chairman, Southeast Electricity Consumer Association, SECA, Reverend Obioha Okechukwu, accused the service providers of the act of extortion and exploitation against innocent and desperate consumers.
Not that what they want to wait is for you because they feel you needed light, you are frustrated, you are intimidated, you are coerced. You can't wait to have light. Maybe you have a wire over your head and they are wondering why there was no light, and then they will come in because your transformer is bad. You now go and they say, buy a transformer. And the worst of it, the tricky sort of it, the stealing by trick, which we Sika has observed, is that they will now tell you to donate it to EDC. It's a bundle of confusion and contradiction.
Obio has said this association was out to enlighten electricity users on the obnoxious practices of the regulators and distributors to further impoverish and inflict hardship on Nigerians, especially in the southeast.
We are working. We are only praying that their own kind of regulatory agency will not be like that of the NEC, that is now kwashiorkor reading and sickle cell anemic. They are not working. NEC is not working. It's not working. It's like it's a toothless bulldog.
The commissioner in charge of market operations in the newly constituted ENUGU State Electricity Regulatory Commission, EERC, Ruben Okoye, said the commission will take over from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, on the 22nd of October following the deregulation of the energy sector. Okoye listed major policies to be put in place by the commission as soon as it takes charge.
And the service provider owes an obligation, an overriding obligation to provide that service. So what we do in this commission is to ensure that those two obligations are balanced out.
Okay.
So the obligation to provide power, provide reliable power, all right, that is the cost based on efficient cost, all right, and then the customer paying his proper share of the price for power. That proper share of the price, properly determined, the customer has an obligation to pay that. Where the customer cheats, it doesn't only cheat the service provider, it cheats all of us. Because he's stealing from us. We are going to be paying that money that he has not paid. So that is
A legal practitioner, Jonas Udensi, narrated the legal framework guiding electricity consumption and distribution. He urged Nigerians who feel that their plight has been trampled upon to come out and resist any form of intimidation or exploitation.
It will be more tidier to look at what the regulations say about the discos that supplies these services and the consumers themselves. Each party has a right because the discos themselves, purchase the electricity from the transmission company and then sells to the consumer. So they also adhere to for business and to make profit.
But the question is in delivering their services, where the services did not follow the regulation laid down by the regulatory body, here the NEC. The NEC is a body instituted by the National Assembly, which has the right to regulate what goes on in the power sector, electricity sector. So the question asked is where the consumer is not getting a satisfactory service, what should the consumer do? Now, the regulation says, first, the consumer should complain to the supplier of that facility or that service. In this regard, in the East, we are talking about EEDC.
Udensi urged the federal and state governments and various regulatory agencies and other players in the sector to look into the plight of electricity consumers and save them from further agony. Chinemerem Ikebunam, Signature TV News. The first shocker that greeted
Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, Dr. Muyi Aina, says the agency has designated a sum of 254 million naira to boost primary healthcare delivery in Enugu State, commending the state governor, Dr. Peter Mba, for his administration's prompt implementation of federal government's policies in the health sector in the state. Aina gave a commendation when he led the NPHCDA's partners, the World Health Organization, WHO, UNICEF, and delegation from his agency on a courtesy visit to the governor at Government House. Dr. Aina told the governor that he came to seek a continuous partnership with the Enugu State government on the development of a primary health care in the state. He added that the state would fully benefit from the ongoing revitalization of primary health care centers across the country by the federal government.
What, for me, again, I consider the triumph of partnership, the triumph of true collaboration between the federal government and the state government. And what that indeed demonstrates is also resilience and vision. So, and a lot of what we see in terms of programs and projects from the federal government are quite in sync with our governance philosophy, and indeed they are in line with what we have promised our people. And sometimes we also want to scale because we know where some of these things rank in the priority list of our people.
Welcoming federal government's intervention, Governor Mba assured partnership with the federal government and aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals programs.
Easy to work with, very responsive, give us information, and really just making strides that we would like other states to emulate. So I would like to congratulate you for your choice of a team, Your Excellency. It's important that primary health care, the integrity of primary health care is preserved wherever, the interpretation of the law lands. So what that means is that as stipulated by the National Health Act, that the primary health care system needs to be strengthened with, under one entity, that is the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and the LGAs are starting to lean towards that. So we will encourage you, sir, to work with the LGAs to really try to achieve that within the state.
Mba said it will institutionalize the primary health care, adding that his administration has put modalities in place to ensure universal health coverage in the state. The police command in Imo, in collaboration with the Nigerian Army, has rescued 4 kidnapped victims and neutralized 1 suspect at Izioa, Numbitoli local government area. Command spokesman ASP Henry Okoye disclosed this in a statement issued in Owerri and made available to newsmen. Okoye also disclosed that operatives from the command's anti-kidnapping unit, Tiger Base, carried out intelligence-led operation in collaboration with military personnel. According to him, the team successfully dismantled terrorists and kidnapping syndicate suspected to be members of a proscribed indigenous people of Biafra and its armed group, the Eastern Security Network, during the operation. The operation led to the neutralization of one suspected terrorist and the rescue of 4 individuals abducted along Olu Road on September 29. He added that items recovered from the camp included a pump-action gun, 10 live cartridges, 4 expended cartridges, 4 locally made explosives, and a Biafran flag. Further explained that a native bulletproof vest, 2 Highlander sports utility vehicles, an ash-colored Toyota Camry, and various criminal charms were also recovered from the camp. Okoye also stated that operations were underway to apprehend the fleeing suspects. A local government election in Rivers State is proceeding as scheduled, despite calls from stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, for Governor Siminalayi Fubara to suspend the process. But sensitive and non-sensitive election materials arrived at registration and accreditation centers in some local government areas, including the Government Technical College in Auda East. Atmosphere in the state reflects typical election day conditions, but roads notably quiet over the absence of a Nigerian police force. Governor Fubara, speaking on Friday, reaffirmed his commitment to moving forward with the election, despite the River State Police Command's decision to withdraw from overseeing the process. The River State Independent Electoral Commission, RISTEC, emphasized that the election will proceed as planned, encouraging residents to exercise their voting rights in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. Similarly, the candidate of the Action People's Party, APP, for Port Harcourt City local government area, Ezebunwo Ichemati, while casting his vote at Ward 18, Unit 14 and 15 in Diobu Town, commended RISTEC for the timely arrival of electoral materials at polling units. Chemati described the exercise as peaceful and seamless and urged voters to come out to exercise their civic rights.
99.9 so far. I say so because I haven't seen observed previous elections in Lagos State. You see that this was audience. You see election materials out there and see result sheets, you see that you see most of all have a time pass is not been like that. You have a time pass where you see people go without having a result sheet available, but in this case they are unavailable, and that shows that everybody's vote will count.
His counterpart, Chijioke Iwumo, the chairmanship candidate for Obiakpo local government, commended RISTEC for its professional disposition and expressed optimism for a free and fair poll.
For coming out with marks, despite that we have people who are distracting who want to distract the election, but by the grace of God, RISTEC has indeed done well. They've not like 8% of what we expected them to do by doing the right thing. And in line with what the Supreme Court have said that we should conduct the election within the 90 days, election is held in Rivers State. But by the grace of God, we are very happy, and we want to thank our people for coming out and voting us. We're also aware that some people have started, leading protests. We're also aware that this thing belongs to all of us. This is it's a gospel state. We have a governor, which is governor of the state, and what is happening is a normal thing. The man who says he wants to hold Rivers State, the current minister of the FCT, Chief cannot hold Rivers. Rivers State is too big for one man to run as a private estate, and the people are clapping for him. And let me also say that, in the 2023 election, we told Nigerians he's going to support the former Vice President Elijah Atiku Abubakar as the candidate of PDP then to run that election. He know that Rivers was the case, so he's just saying that the man does not keep his word. The man that
after casting his vote, the legal advisor of the National Youth Council, Chijioke commended the process, noting that the exercise was peaceful despite the absence of police in the area. Special Advisor Civil Society to Governor Achio Nna rated the exercise as 99% successful. It was also observed that Ward 9, Unit 6, Ilo Paranwo, Obiakpo local government area, that voting was ongoing in a peaceful atmosphere, but voters turned out in their numbers to cast their vote. Meanwhile, suspected arsonists have reportedly detonated explosives at the River State Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Port Harcourt. The incident occurred on Saturday morning, few hours to the local government election in the state. According to video clips circulated on social media, The incident, suspected to be from dynamite, damaged the main gate and the security house of the APC Secretariat, as well as parts of an adjoining building. State Caretaker Committee Chairman of the main opposition party, Tony Okocha, while confirming the incident, accused supporters of Governor Siminalayi Fubara of the attack on the Secretariat. Second attempt to set it ablaze was foiled. Security at the gate quickly put out the fire. Standing by to give us an update is on the election in River State is Uche Waju Williams. Uche, are you there? We'll definitely bring you more updates concerning the River State election. Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has cautioned Governor Siminalayi Fubara of River State from making unfounded allegations against him, so that threatening to shed blood and burn down the state because of a local government election is not acceptable to the police. Statement comes after Fubara said Egbetokun will be held accountable if law and order broke down in the state. The governor had intervened in an incident at the office of the River State Independent Electoral Commission RIFSEC on Friday morning. The development comes amidst an ongoing political crisis in River State over Saturday's local government election. Still on elections, the Benue State House of Assembly has amended the 2007 local government election bill and approved a 3-year tenure for local government elected officials. The amendment of the 2007 local government law took place on Friday, a few hours before local government elections slated for Saturday. The House, presided over by its Speaker Hyacinth Dajo, unanimously agreed that the local government law be amended after close in consideration of the bill. The House therefore expunged the 2-year tenure, which was in the former law in sections 13.2 and 27.3, and substituted it with a 3-year tenure. Ruling after legislative processes, Dajo agreed that amendment was necessary to allow the chairman enough time to develop their areas. The bill has been sent to the governor for his assent. Still in Benue State, the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA, has announced a slight decrease in River Benue's water levels in recent days, lowering the risk of severe flooding. NISA's Director General Omar Mohammed disclosed this in a statement issued on Saturday in Abuja. Mohammed reaffirmed the agency's commitment to monitoring the water levels of the nation's major rivers and tributaries as part of its overall flood management strategy in Nigeria. He urged citizens to remain vigilant due to unpredictable climate conditions, to continue observing flood preparedness protocols. NISA's 2024 annual flood outlook reveals that 148 local government areas across 31 states are at high risk of flooding. Affected states include Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Imo, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, and Kebbi. Still to come, Shetima directs overhaul of road safety measures. Conference seeks women empowerment through unity and inclusive leadership. Stay with us. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has applauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for correcting the mistakes of the past by according to the House's constitutional status in honoring the Speaker with a Grand Command of the Order of the Niger, GCON. President Tinubu, during his Independence Day anniversary address to Nigerians on Tuesday, October 1, announced the conferment of the Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, CFR, on the Speaker, and GCON on the President of the Senate and the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. On Wednesday, the House, through a motion by Philip Agbese and 249 others, called on the President to correct the past mistakes. According to the House, the same status as the Senate in the conferment of the national honors. The House had decried the discrimination it had suffered over the years not just regarding national honors, but also in some quarters, where a segment of Nigerians refer to it as a lower chamber, even when the Constitution places both chambers of the National Assembly on the same pedestal. Following the resolution of the House, President Tinubu on Friday night, through his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, ENUGU, announced the withdrawal of a CFR honor and conferment of a GCON on the Speaker. Speaker Abbas, in a press statement issued through his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Musa Abdullahi Krishi, said President Tinubu has demonstrated good leadership in his action. Speaker Abbas equally congratulated the 10th House of Representatives for the historic achievement, thanked his colleagues for rising against the age-long discrimination of the House, which he said has been corrected through their efforts. Vice President Kashim Shettima has directed the implementation of a sweeping overhaul of Nigeria's road safety measures to reduce accidents in the country. He is also set to inaugurate the National Road Safety Advisory Council, saddled with the responsibility of reducing traffic accidents by 50% before 2030. Shettima joined a meeting with the leadership of the Federal Road Safety Corps (FRSC) held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on Friday, stressed the need for the Corps to address increasing road accidents on the highways. The Vice President directed the implementation of a sweeping overhaul of Nigeria's road safety measures. He also stressed the need for the Corps to address its challenges and drastically reduce road traffic accidents across the nation caused by non-adherence to traffic regulations. He also emphasized the need for deliberate efforts to address road challenges in line with international best practices in countries like Dubai and the UK. The Vice President also chairs the National Road Safety Advisory Council, highlighted the importance of leveraging technology and enforcing discipline to improve road safety. The federal government has set up a committee to investigate the taxation and operational disputes between the Osun government and Segula Resources Operating Limited, SROL, a subsidiary of Thor Explorations Limited. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, made this known in a statement by Special Assistant in Media, Shegun Tomori, on Friday in Abuja. Alake said that the committee was established to engage both parties with the aim of resolving the dispute and restoring industrial harmony. Recall reports that the Osun State government on September 30 sealed the business premises of SROL following a court order permitting it to confiscate the company for various flagrant tax violations and other operational matters. State government had charged the company with unethical business practices and tax evasion amounting to approximately $1.9 million. Said that the committee will be chaired by Dr. Mary Ogbe, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry. According to him, the committee would include representatives of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Ministry of Labor and Employment, and the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. He emphasized that the federal government had been showcasing investment opportunities in the solid minerals sector to global audience, however cautioned that the closure of mining operations by subnationals could abort efforts to attract foreign direct investment and provoke divestment. The federal government has expressed its readiness to partner with the Italian government on science and technology through transformative power of space technology and development to advance socio-economic development in the country. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, said this when Italian ambassador to Nigeria, Stefano Di Leo, visited him in Abuja on Friday. Nnaji said that the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology are taking advantage of space technology to enhance environmental protection and improve the efficiency in agriculture. According to him, this will prevent flood and header farmer clashes. The minister said the collaboration was apt as it would avert flood caused by climate change. Nnaji said flooding in some northern states was one among other critical challenges facing the country. According to an assessment from the space agency, revealed that the Lado Dam in Cameroon had overflown. Earlier, De Leo said that the visit was a strengthened partnership with Nigeria on science and technology. Said that Nigeria should take its leadership position in Africa to harness both human and natural resources for technological advancement. Nigerian women today at a conference in Abuja joined their voices to an increasing demand for gender mainstreaming in industry, economy, and politics in the country. This was at the Voice of Women Conference and Awards, VOW, an annual event that brings together diverse groups of women from business, politics, civil society, and academia. Organized by the Voice of Women Empowerment Foundation in partnership with Women Radio Network, WRN, conference serves as a platform for discussing critical national development issues and offering solutions. Signature TV correspondent Usman Nasiru has the report.
Of women from leadership roles. She said her primary goal was to champion women's rights, emphasize the importance of women supporting each other to resist being sidelined by men.
From 1999, I made note to say, if there's any woman that got elected without my input and support, let her stand up. From 1999, until I left my position as National Woman Leader in 2006. But even then, I still put mouth, I still, forward ways, support them. Those that are, those that come to me, I still support them. I still advise them. I still speak out for them. I still speak for them wherever I can.
Senator Natasha Apoti, a keynote speaker, highlighted the widespread struggles women face in all areas of life. She stressed the need for women in positions of authority to connect with grassroots women and work towards their empowerment.
If you are here and you're a politician or you have intentions of vying for a political office, this is one of the key points you can use to, well, you have to believe that, not that you would just speak words that have no meanings, because I've seen sometimes women go into want to vie for political offices and just cram some things and do not have empathy or connectivity with what they intend to say. And they read out empty manifestos, but you have to sell yourself. You have to sell a relatable idea to the Nigerian woman, especially the married folks, and ensure them that when you get voted, you will prioritize their well-being, you will prioritize their care, you will prioritize their worth.
I also want to call on number one citizen of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Sir, please lend your voice and political will to get the 74 extra seats bill passed by the 10th National Assembly. We need the president to be deliberate. We need the president to be intentional. We need him to use his voice and political will to do more and elevate Nigerian women's inclusion to global standards. To the president again, education is our pillar to knowledge, and I personally thank him for making life a step easier for parents and guardians in meeting financial obligations by introducing the NEL Fund loan.
Mrs. Nkiruka Onyejocha, the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, encouraged women to persevere until they achieve meaningful change. She emphasized that one background should not define one's future and stressed the importance of empowering grassroots women.
After secondary school, my grandmother died, and it became difficult for me to go to school. So I had to continue my education by friends, families, and relatives, but not my father. But my father refused because the wife did not allow him to train us. People in the grassroots going through what I passed through. But the joy is, after all this thing and travels, temptation, suffering, neglect, rejection, today I am here standing, and my community is, I think they are very proud of me.
Dr. Abiola Afolabi, chairperson of the World 2024 Planning Committee, in a welcome address, called for the creation of inclusive and transformative pathways for women's leadership. She positioned the conference as a critical platform for stakeholders to engage in discussion that support grassroots women, who she described as the backbone of the nation.
What we're doing here is it's bridging the gaps and bringing grassroots women and women in leadership together. Severally, for those of us who have worked in this field, this has always been a major challenge. And I want to thank Voice of Women today by bringing women from those two divides, together to have this kind of conversation. There can never be any better time than this.
As women, we need to stand in solidarity with one another, bring out our wrappers to cover ourselves from undue scrutiny, to offer assistance, to offer support. I would not be where I am today if I had not benefited from the wrappers of other women. And the principle of the wrappers for me is whenever someone gives you a wrapper, you extend that wrapper to the next person.
We've launched a revolving loan for market women at the grassroots, and it's non-interest, right? So these women come, they get empowered, and they pay back after a while, and we can give to other women. We started with 120 market women in Yanya here in Abuja. So we believe that the women at the grassroots are very important. And, we've always said that these women are involved in elections, but after elections, they are dumped and manipulated. How do we solve this problem? It's something we should think about.
Education is very vital. Without education, the nation will not grow. And healthcare services, without being healthy, will not get. You can't find an edifice without drugs. No workers there, nothing. And so those are the issues. The roads, motorable roads, for our women to be able to carry their products to the market. Potable drinking water for our women to keep healthy. These are them. So we are appealing with them to please be able to give us these facilities.
The conference emphasized women's empowerment, unity, and the need for inclusive leadership. Various speakers, in turn, urged women to support one another, connect with grassroots communities, and overcome challenges to advance in leadership and society. The central message was resilience and solidarity as keys to shaping a more equitable future for women. In Abuja, Nasiru Usman for Signature TV News.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, says effective trade dispute resolution mechanisms under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTAC, and ECOWAS instruments can foster regional economic growth. ECOWAS Director of Trade, Kola Shofola, stated this at a capacity-building workshop on dispute settlement mechanisms under the AfTAC and ECOWAS instruments in Abuja.
The overall objective of this workshop is to enhance the capacity of the courts of justice to play a role in arbitration on trade agreements. As we know, Nigeria and the ECOWAS countries are not only members of our own free trade area, which is operationalized through the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme, but they're also signatories to the African Continental Free Trade Area. And with any free trade agreement, there are bound to be instances where there are disagreements. So there has to be a mechanism on how to resolve this. And we believe the community courts of justice will have a key role in supporting member states to address any issue that may arise from the operationalization of trade agreements.
The director noted that AfTAC's objectives would only succeed if the rules were adhered to, and many disputes that arose were settled in a fair, efficient, and Mohammed Ladan, Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, NILS, in a presentation, noted that Africa's regional economic communities were the building blocks of AfTAC's agreement. The Managing Director, Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Dr. Samuel Obuku, says the organization resolved to use the Chambers of Commerce as a tool to develop the region and empower the people. Obuku said this at a workshop organized in Umuahia on Friday to sensitize Abia people at the lunch with Niger Delta Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Trade, Mines and Agriculture, NDCC-ITMA. He described the chambers as a child born out of sincere desire to find lasting solutions to the challenges plaguing businesses in the Niger Delta region. Said that the present board of the commission from inception, was committed to ensuring that development was brought to the region through genuine processes of economically empowering them. Obuku, represented by the Abia Director of NDDC, Azubike Mumbani, said that the Commission will work closely with NDCC ITMA to design a pathway to prosperity for the people. In a speech, the pioneer chairman of NDCC ITMA, Idare Organ, said that the establishment of the chambers is consistent with major strategic objectives of the region. Governor Babagana Zulum submitted 61 billion naira request to the Borno House of Assembly to address critical infrastructure needs sequel to the devastation caused by floods in the state. The request seeks to amend the 358.7 billion naira budget signed into law on January 10, bring the total estimate to 419.7 billion naira. The Speaker, Abdul Karim Lawal, presented the governor's request at plenary on Friday. Recall that on September 10, floods submerged large parts of Maiduguri and adjoining communities, displaced about 2 million people, destroyed 200,000 homes, and caused large-scale destruction. Lawan said additional funding will primarily focus on reconstruction of key infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and hospitals damaged by the disaster. The fund, he said, would also be directed towards emergency relief efforts, humanitarian aid and support for farmers, economic recovery initiatives, and environmental management. Sokoto state government says it will build 3 dams to support the Fadama and dry season farming under its integrated agriculture project. The economic advisor to Sokoto State Governor Bashir Achida said this while addressing newsmen in Abuja. He said the government would also purchase 244 additional tractors to boost agricultural activities. This, he said, was to further ensure mechanization and commercialization of agriculture in the state. He said the agricultural integrated plan also entailed all agricultural activities, ranging from rearing of animals, poultry, and construction of rice mills in all the 3 senatorial zones. Said the program would involve cultivation of hundreds of hectares of land, noting that the state would leverage its comparative advantage of having rivers and dams for the farmlands. Achida said given the agrarian nature of the state, the government was supporting the sector since it came on board. The Forward Operating Base, FOB, of the Nigerian Navy in Badagry, Lagos, has handed over 7 suspected victims of human trafficking to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. Navy Captain Augustus Amakari, Commanding Officer, FOB, represented by Sub-Lieutenant H.M. Dawalis, the base intelligence officer, stated that the victims were intercepted on October 1 and 3rd. According to Amakari, on October 1 at around 3:20 p.m., the base Quick Response Team, QRT, deployed at Base Jet in Badagry intercepted a fiber boat carrying passengers en route to Panshi Jetty from Mile 2. Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau has donated medical and other relief items worth 180 million naira to victims of flood disaster in Maiduguri, Borno. The Director of Press and Public Affairs to the Governor, Gang Bere, said this in a statement in Jos. Mutfwang was represented by the Deputy Governor, Josephine Pio, during a presentation of the items, said a gesture aimed at alleviating the suffering of the victims. The items include 4 trucks loaded with cartons of Swan Table water, 100 bags of groundnut cake, 100 bags of cassava granulates, gari, 100 bags of millet and sorghum, 100 bags of maize, and 20 cartons of milk, among others. The Bauchi State Government has inaugurated an 11-member tripartite technical committee to fast-track the implementation of a new national minimum wage. A statement by the NLC chairman in the state, Dado Shuaibu, reveals the membership of the committee comprises representatives of the state government, Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and Trade Union Congress, TUC, said the development was sequel to a meeting between the organized labor and members of the State Executive Council, SEC. Shuaibu said the committee has approved 70,000 naira minimum wage for workers in the state. According to Shuaibu, the objective is to develop modalities for the payment of a national minimum wage to workers, adding that its membership derived from various sources of salary structure in the state. The Mediterranean Shipping Company MSC Nigeria Limited has been dragged to the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos over allegations bordering on loss of cargo. Shipping company was sued before Justice Friday Ogazi alongside Five Star Logistics Limited as the second defendant in a suit dated and filed on June 14, 2024. The writ of summons filed by Emmanuel Ekpeyong, a human and constitution lawyer of Fred Young and Evans LP, Cargo Mark Investments and Logistics Limited, and Sunrise Estate Development Limited are listed as first and second plaintiffs. They sought a declaration that the first defendant, as the disclosed agent of Mediterranean Shipping Company SA, the owner of vessel MSC Codovado 3, voyage number POD/terminal NGTIN/5 in Bill of Lading number MED-UJ 5050698, is personally liable for the act, the fault, omission or commission of Mediterranean Shipping Company SA against the plaintiffs. The joint statement of claim, the first plaintiff, a licensed forwarding and clearing agent and limited liability company, is consignee, while the second plaintiff, a limited liability company in the real estate development business, is a notified party under the Bill of Lading. The World Health Organization WHO has approved cellular hyaline papillomavirus HPV vaccine for use in a single-dose schedule. This is contained in a statement issued by WHO on Friday. WHO said that the decision was made based on new data on the product that fulfilled the criteria set out in the WHO's 2022 recommendations for alternative off-label use of HPV vaccines in single-dose schedules. According to it, this important milestone will contribute to improving sustainable supply of HPV vaccines, allowing more girls to be reached with the vaccines that prevent cervical cancer. Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General, said that unlike most other cancers, they have the ability to eliminate cervical cancer along with its painful iniquities. He said that more than 95% of the 660,000 cervical cancer cases occurring globally each year are caused by HPV. According to him, every 2 minutes a woman dies from this preventable disease globally, and 90% of these deaths occur in low and middle-income countries. Of the 20 hardest hit countries by cervical cancer, 19 are in Africa. HPV vaccine introductions have been hampered by global supply shortages since 2018. Up ahead, Israel's Iron Dome intercepts rockets fired from Lebanon. Filipino activists clash with police ahead of anniversary of Israel-Palestinians attack. Stay with us. Be'eri, an agricultural Israeli kibbutz close to Gaza, was one of the first Israeli communities hit by Hamas on October 7, 2023, at the start of the deadliest Palestinian militant attack in Israel's history. The alleged rows of large red-roofed houses were surrounded by quiet roads and expansive farmland prior to the attack. The Gaza Strip, just 3 miles away, can be seen from the kibbutz grounds. Gazan farm workers used to be employed there. But a largely quiet environment has changed forever when Hamas militants stormed the kibbutz, setting fire to houses and killing indiscriminately or abducting men, women, and children. In all, the tight-knit community of the kibbutz lost about a tenth of its roughly 1,000 residents. The militants took 10 hostages from Be'eri. The Israeli army said it killed up to 100 gunmen after arriving on the scene. It said thousands of Gaza militants participated in the assault at large. The damaged houses were left in ruins, and the survivors were evacuated to a hotel near the Dead Sea before moving to temporary housing at Kibbutz Atarim in the Negev desert around 29 kilometers away from Be'eri. But the intention is to rebuild Be'eri and return. In July 2024, demolition work started on the remains of the destroyed buildings, the former residents looking to raise money to supplement government funds to make Be'eri home again. Be'eri was established in 1946 with the aim of creating a collective egalitarian farming community. Its main source of income these days is its print shop, and local farmers are working to revive what is left of their crops and agricultural produce. Israel's Iron Dome air defense system intercepted rockets fired from Lebanon on Friday as it continued to exchange fire with Iran-backed Hezbollah militants north of the border. Rockets were intercepted and burned in the sky near the border with Lebanon as sirens sounded in the distance. Nearly 2,000 people have been killed since the start of Israeli attacks in Lebanon in the last year, including 127 children, Lebanon's health minister said. Most of the casualties have come in the past 2 weeks. Smoke rose near Beirut airport after Israeli strikes hit the capital on Saturday. Several flights evacuating foreign nationals left the capital city on Saturday as governments called on the citizens to leave the country immediately. Footage of the Beirut skyline showed large plumes of smoke rising in several areas following strikes. Lebanon's government says more than 2,000 people have been killed since the start of Israeli attacks in Lebanon in the last year, including 127 children. Most of the casualties have come in the past 2 weeks. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, said it had delivered 17 tons of medical supplies to Beirut as the Lebanese capital faces continued Israeli airstrikes. The ICRC said a shipment from Geneva included surgical material and equipment for handling trauma injuries, burns, and art by Iran. Although no country has launched a large-scale military evacuation yet some are chartering aircraft. People are also fleeing on their own. Some are chartering aircraft. People are also fleeing on their own. Smoke was also seen rising over buildings near the airport as the Israeli military issued 3 alerts for residents of the area to immediately evacuate. The UAE delivered a shipment of humanitarian and medical aid to Lebanon, which arrived at Beirut Rafik Hariri International Airport on Friday, in response to the growing humanitarian needs the country is facing. Shipment provided to Lebanon was in cooperation with the World Health Organization, WHO. More than 1.2 million Lebanese have been displaced by Israeli attacks, and nearly 2,000 people have been killed since the start of Israeli attacks in Lebanon over the last year, most of them in the past 2 weeks, Lebanese authorities say. A flight carrying evacuees from Lebanon, including Australian citizens, landed in Cyprus on Saturday. Over the past several days, foreign nationals have fled Lebanon as Israeli bombings of Lebanon has continued. Western nations have drafted contingency plans to evacuate citizens from Lebanon after dramatic escalation in the conflict between Israel and the Lebanese armed movement Hezbollah, coupled with Iran's missile attack on Israel on Tuesday. At the Larnaca airport, Australian officials gathered outside, ready to greet the evacuees with water bottles and apples. Activists clashed with anti-riot police in Manila on Saturday after they were blocked from holding a demonstration in front of the U.S. Embassy in the Philippine capital ahead of the anniversary of Israel-Gaza conflict. The protesters later demonstrated several hundred meters from the embassy as they burned a U.S. flag and chanted for the end of the bloodshed in Gaza. The latest bloodletting in a decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict stems from an attack by Palestinian Hamas militants October 7, 2023 that killed over 41,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry, and displaced nearly Gaza's entire population, caused a hunger crisis, and led to genocide allegations that Israel denies. Firefighting planes were spotted releasing fire retardant and water over a wildfire in Idau's Boss foothills. According to local media, the wildfire sparked early Friday along Highway 21 in East Boss and has already burnt thousands of acres in the Boss foothills. Crews are conducting proactive fire operations.
The high level or increase of unemployment is individuals' fault. Majority of the people blames it on the government. Because I look at it that majority of us went to school to study how to be employed and not to become employers. You understand what I'm saying now? So a situation whereby you are being programmed or being worked on in such a way that you believe that once you finish your education, there is a government job such as white collar not job awaiting you, then we are deceiving ourselves. But I am trying to tell us that if you went to the school to acquire knowledge and put the knowledge into work,
it keeps getting. It's very, very necessary for people to be equipped to have what to do, a kind of handwork, anything that will make someone to be engaged in order to earn money for him or herself.
High rate of unemployment in Nigeria first is caused by we the Nigerians. And why? Because we already know that there are no jobs out there. So why then do we depend or lean on getting white collar jobs when there are none? The federal government is not doing anything to help us and to to give us something meaningful. Let me just stop there to give us something meaningful. When you go out there, outside the country, definitely there are jobs there where you be able to fetch money for yourself and fend for your family. But here, it is well.
High level of unemployment, obviously is on the leadership now. It's very, very obvious because in a country that everything, the consumption rate is higher than the production rate, what do you expect? Obviously unemployment will be very high. So I guess one of the ways, and we all know it, and the government knows it, is just that the guys who, made the country this way are benefiting from it. So basically, it's just to increase the productivity of the country. Look at places like Aba that produces, the kind of, despite the, financial instability they have, they can still produce such, well-crafted work, creative work. For them to do that kind of thing, imagine if money is pumped into that area. A lot of things can be done. For instance, Peter Bida, his convoy is made of innocence. He bought innocence cars. His convoy is because, he's trying to increase the productivity of Nigerians. And I feel if we focus on that area, things can be done to, make the country better.
Well, I believe the high level of unemployment is basically, let's say the government, because first off, the government isn't providing enough opportunities, both in learning opportunities and job opportunities for people. People actually go to school in this part of the world because we are very educated people here in Nigeria. But due to the lack of opportunity, even after going to school, after serving for the national country and all that, you still don't even have a chance to succeed or even get a chance to start from somewhere. People are actually sidelining you because they don't see any value in what you bring to the table, as they say. But then again, we look at how the whole economy is structured. It's only the rich that keeps getting richer while the poor keeps getting poorer. Nobody wants to help the other person to rise up to a particular position, and nobody is willing to actually, like, give people the chance. Because I believe if everyone is given a chance, we can make things work in this country. But at this point, somebody is giving a chance and nobody cares to do anything meaningful. Everybody's just giving up, literally, and it's causing so much unemployment, so much chaos, so much poverty in the land. Nobody gives a hell about anything. If anything goes to chaos, it's fine. If anything goes well, it's fine. We're all just too relaxed about the whole situation and nothing is adding up.
Good morning. Good morning to you and welcome to New Day on Signature Television. And like we always say, with a new day comes new ideas, new opportunities, and of course, new possibilities. And today being the 5th of October, we have very important discussions lined up for your entertainment and your information as well as your education. Of course, my name is Chigi Chiagorom and I'm not here alone. Joshua is here with me. Joshua, good morning.
You can't be here alone. You can't be here alone. And in the beginning, two, he made them. He made them too. So of course, I'm going to be here with you by fire by force.
Man of God.
No, come off it.
Oh,
I don't like to bring out that's my spiritual aspect of myself. So,
of yourself.
Yeah.
So let's just keep that waiting
yes,
until some other time. Some other opportune time.
But of course, you look good in purple. I like purple.
Oh, thank you so much. So same thing with you. You look good in
Kato.
Anyways, welcome once again, and when we get back, we will start off with newspaper headlines and of course reviews. Please stay with us.
New Day, we give the voice to the voiceless as well. So we're moving over to newspaper headline, and of course we'll have in the studio with us to do this newspaper and review Chris Maduka. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Joshua. Good morning, Chigi. You guys started with colors, and I just heard about carton.
Carton.
Carton remands man for allegedly raping his daughter. Wow. This is terrifying.
Rape and incest at the same time. All right, just above the Saturday Times mast, Akwa Ibom governor opens up about wife's death as First Lady visits Uyo, and then another story just above the Saturday Times mast on INEC. INEC says diaspora chapters of Nigerian political parties are illegal.
Well, I like the way Saturday Times puts this. They say rivers of anxiety.
Wow.
Local government polls spark fears of breakdown of law and order in Port Harcourt with the rider Fubara spits fire, vows to fight IGP Wike over interference. PDP gives conflicting orders to members about election.
More terrorism commanders killed in battlefield, says DHQ.
Hold my Russian husband responsible if anything happens to me. Karen Ego.
Interesting. Story of 71-year-old Pa Adeola jailed for life for raping friend's granddaughter. What is going on?
This is rape again. 71-year-old. Activities of illegal orphanage homes in Delta exposed.
And finally, on the Saturday Times, my wife gave me back my ring. Tinubu to call police to order. PDP asks Rivers to resist intimidation and vote en masse.
Any politician that is not corrupt in Nigeria is lucky, says Senator Ndume.
I would like to know more about this, really. All right, then still on Saturday Tribune, Amotekun arrests family of 7 for burglary, theft of food items.
Bandits invade mosque in Castina, disrupt Juma service. You can find this on the page 5.
Finally, on Saturday Tribune, federal government starts evacuation of Nigerians from Lebanon.
Moving over to the Saturday Punch, just above the mass we have Pastor Adeboye's apology reignites Titan debates.
Serious conversation online.
Yes.
We'll get to that in a few minutes. All right, Niger boats tragedy. 42 bodies recovered, 108 remaining. I beg your pardon. 42 bodies recovered, 108 remain missing. Oh, wow, so sad.
This is amazing to see. Wait, just listen. Russia and Ukraine trade wars over Nigerians' protests. And the writer, stop meddling in Nigerians' affair. Russia tells Ukraine, UK, and US. You can find it on page 4.
Okay, we'll get there. Let's just get on with the newspaper headlines. And boldly written on the Saturday Punch, River local government poll. Tension, uncertainty as Wike's allies, Fubara's camp, set to clash with riders that say police pulling from Senator Kingibe.
And somebody is finally telling us why blacks have more kidney problems in UK. Dela Ido.
Print weekend.
Have more kidney problems in UK. Dela Ido.
Print weekend mass youth lead.
Modernity.
All right, local equity market closes higher, gains 262 billion naira.
And finally, on the blueprint, we have 2027. Tinubu already laying solid foundation for Nigeria's prosperity. Doguwa tells Kwakwanso.
All right. On Saturday, Vanguard, just above the mast, Customs, Police, NCCSALW react as fears spread about millions of seized arms illegally imported into the country. On page 10 of the Saturday Vanguard.
Page 15, we have Where is My Husband? Sad story of mysterious disappearance of policeman after in-laws burial. And still above the mass, we have I was wrong on tithe payment. Adeboye apologize. You can find this on the page 6.
All right, still on local government polls, Wike Fubara in fights to finish. With riders, Fubara accuses IGP of bias, insists on today's election. National PDP backs poll, Rivers chapter disagrees. Government Eno Akpabio brag in Akwa Ibom. These and more you'll find on page 5.
Well, Tinubu succumbs, confers G-Con on Rep Speaker Tajuddin Abbas. You can find this on page 6.
And finally, on the Saturday Vanguard, with the benefit of hindsight, independence only benefited our leaders. The masses will have had a better deal under our colonial masters. This is coming from Dr. Ugoji Ebuja.
And moving over to The Guardian, just above the mast, we have daring hackers on the prowl amid strict anti-crimes measures.
All right, still above the Guardian mast, tackling fuel supply crisis, lessons from NLNG template.
End TB by 2030, with uncoordinated strategies, mission unaccomplished is imminent.
And finally, on the Guardian weekend, Southwest, interesting news items just above the Saturday Independent mast. HCS, interesting news items just above the Saturday Independent mast. HCSF 6 collaboration with AANI on capacity building for civil servants on page 7. On organ harvesting, the rise and dark trade of human spare parts on page 29. And Independence Day, Zainab Balogu lists reasons to hate Nigeria on page 15.
And bold statements coming from Fubara, Governor Fubara, hold IGP responsible if anarchy ensues in Rivers, says police serving 1 month's interest to settle local government's polls.
Still on page 29 of the Saturday Independent, Tinubu bows to pressure, confers GCON on House Speaker Tajuddin Abbas.
On page 18, you can't force vaccination in our schools. CSO's caution government, says HPV vaccines dangerous for girls.
And finally, on the Saturday Independent, why I'm not the same sweet girl I played in Wura, coming from Martha Ehinome.
Well, and moving finally over to the nation, just below the Mass Rivers local government poll, tension as Fubara police flex muzzles. With the rider, IGP police want to scuttle election, says Fubara. Force warns governor over weighty allegations against IGP. Insists NPF's action in conformity with court order. National PDP backs Fubara. State wing differs.
And finally, on the nation, Saturday, 3 interesting news pieces. On top of the mast of the nation, federal government exempts 63 items from VAT in major fiscal reform. How soldiers killed my husband and donated body to varsity lab, coming from a widow. And Niger boat tragedy, day free ride to Malud celebration turned fatal, on page 2 of the nation Saturday.
Oh, and that's all on the newspaper headlines. We will now move straight to the newspaper review. And of course, as earlier, I introduced Chris Maduka. Chris Maduka is still with us in the studio. So, Chris, you've heard all the headlines. First of all, tell me which of them catches your attention. Of course, I know one should, but I'm just going to allow you to tell us.
Allow me to just guess which one it is.
Okay, guess.
I'm thinking Fubara. And what's happening?
No,
when did you start? When did you
Chris
start?
Is more of a man of the people.
No, when did you start with being mind reader?
No.
Because I am worried about Fubara because he has whatever circumstances that happen in Nigeria has put Fubara as an underdog. He may not be before now, having succumbed to be a godson. Because the Igbo proverb said, if you befriend a hunchback woman as a man, now it's your duty to carry her on top of the bed and carry her down at each time. It's like if you befriend a cripple, you carry her into the vehicle and out of the vehicle, everywhere you go. Because so when Fubara has willingly befriended a godfather, he should be able to know the kind of godfather he has befriended and should be able to ride the tiger.
Can you be more explicit? Who is this godfather and what's this relationship you're talking
about?
Well,
we all know the godfather. You just wanted, if you want to hear from my mouth that the Reverend Father is wearing a trouser under the top. Honorable, what they call is more than honorable now, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nelson Wike, handed over the mantle of leadership to Fubara in Rivers State. And since then, the center has never held in Rivers State, and the world are watching. And my concern is, at the point you hear the same week, said they will set fire. If people gather to put and say, please, let's talk about it. He said, I will set fire in your house. You dare to come and put mount in river, set fire in your house, set fire here, set fire. And all the people who are afraid of fire in their houses will run back. And they were talking from the fringes. But the man has taken the bull by the horn and said, this is do or die affair. In this case, he has he learned so well as a godson how to manipulate issues. You can imagine a sitting governor of PDP with overnight he has all the people who are going for local government election in River State are in APP. And I'm sorry to say this, only yesterday on this review I started hearing about APP as a party in Nigeria. But why I didn't want to bother about it is that we have over 50. I don't know how many that have been deregistered. But as at the last count, those days, we used to have more than 50, up to 52. So he has learned the ropes within a short time. And since the IGP, Inspector General of Police, is now in charge of local government election.
I was going to go there.
Yeah, I'm just
because
saying.
this is it has become a recurring decimal, right?
No, he said he's the man who gives orders.
The IGP was also, for lack of a better word, was implicated in Edo elections. He is now coming up again in Rivers. What's your take on this?
The election is national election.
Regardless,
now the world
regardless.
The national election, I mean, is a governorship election, is INEC.
Yes.
The local government election is state.
So the question is, why is it still being, triggered as, a particular party that is, causing issues between...
So, but if somebody is, let me not use the word, if finger start coming into it, it might start meaning certain things to certain people. But if somebody touches you, know who touches you. So Fubara should know who his problems are. It's not me that said it, it's Fubara that is saying any hold IGP responsible for whatever is happening in River State. So the people of the world should listen to her. So IGP, Inspector General Police of Nigeria, Betoku, should respond. So the world should know that under normal circumstances, which a lot of things has made the Fubara's case different, that he will ask him, what is my offense? I am the governor of River State. I'm the chief security officer of River State. I should be working with the commissioner of police of River State. And these are part of why we have a lot of loopholes in our constitution. If I am working with commissioner of police in River State, and he takes orders from IGP in Abuja, so how the center hold? Who gives the order? And in the issue of security is like, obey the last order. So there is confusion. A lot of newspapers, some say rivers of war, some say rivers of confusion, some say rivers of peace, some say anything. For whatever they call rivers today can go until today's election holds. And then people come out of it alive. But one thing I trust the people of River State, my dear people of River State, they know what they want. Nobody, they've stampeded them into clean themselves over time. The people of River State will not succumb to this intimidation. If there are some people who, due to selfish reasons, they refuse to let go River State to be, is becoming very clear. Because when I saw the people marching with Fubara yesterday in the video that we showed on this, the people that came out, the caliber of people who stood by him and said, march on, and they say, IGP, other people to shoot. You will now know that they're now beginning to take the bull by the horn. They now want to say, what is happening there can happen to anybody. Because if it happened to Fubara, some politicians will play the ostrich and hit their head. What when it happen to them? Because it can happen to anybody. That's what we're saying. And the issue with Nigeria, it will happen to Chris Madeka, Ritogun will keep quiet. It will happen to Chigi, Chiagorom will keep quiet. When it happened to the other person, who will now talk?
But I mean, when Wike said something that I'm going to set fire, beg your pardon now, I said I'm going to set fire in your state. And then we saw what happened in Edo. Do you think that was one of his threats coming to pass? And we saw what happened in the election of Edo State. We saw the vote buying. We had videos, evidence online about people saying they were vote buying and all of that. Do you think that could be Wike in play?
Well, if the Edo people set fire on their state, I don't want to start giving impetus. So if you want to set fire on my house, I allow you set fire. It's only a tree they told that it will kill you, you stand fast. Let's wait for the next one where the fire will be set. The next state, some people, or Osun State, or Ogun State, and I don't know where next, fire will be set. If they allow fire to set, we'll be counting numbers of fire set in states, and then until they finish setting in 36 states, then we should be talking about fire as our tagline. When I see Orutogun, I say, fire! 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 Has he gotten to you? Fire! Anybody you see, fire! And the fire.
As long as it's not the Holy,
it's not the Holy Ghost fire. No, what I'm saying is that, so nobody, if we begin to accept fire gradually, let it know that it will get to everywhere. So when it gets to you, don't bother to. Now that it has happened, it's happening in River State. A lot of people of Nigeria are watching and sitting down on the fence. If they succeed in setting fire in River State, it will come. Whatever comes around, whatever it will come around. Because any slave that sees where they are burying a fellow slave with just a machete, they use machete to dig a small ground to bury her. Just know that's how it will be for you. Simple. Let the big men, the gods, the fire setters, go about setting fire anywhere. Even in this one, you know, the Igbo proverb said that the pepper will always be more in the mortar where it is grounded. So River State, the source of the fire, the fire will be more there is expected. So let's wait till the end of today and see whether, if the local government election holds in River State, it will be a powerful mark that has been scored by Fubara. It will be that despite all odds, he succeeded in holding it. Then the rest will be go to court.
All right, of course, so we'll keep you guys in updated of what is going to be happening in River State today.
River State of war, River State of peace, River State of everything, River State of everything.
Whatever it is that it's going to, come out to be at the end of today, trust me, Signature TV has you covered, and we'll give you all the reports.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, so there's this other story that caught my attention on Saturday Independent, talking about the judiciary. So erosion of trust in judiciary deepens concerns for Nigeria's future. And there's this writer that says, underfunding of judges, court officials renders system vulnerable to corruption coming from Barrister Abayomi. So the question that comes to mind is Barrister Abayomi trying to justify, the corruption in the judiciary? Should this be the perspective of conversation concerning the judiciary in Nigeria?
This music, incidentally, Joshua does not understand. It's a new music played by the children of this old legendary musician, Omo Bilibo.
Omo Bilibo, yes.
He said, any man who is on the path of failure must grab something and hold strongly to it. Onye na-ada yenwere ihe okwedola aka. Now, if the judiciary are already on their path of extinction, in Nigerian account of things, they will hold on something.
All right.
So, if they hold on poor funding, they are justified. What is my interest is that the lack of trust on Nigerian judiciary system is not deepening. It has gotten to the highest depth that is almost causing earthquake. There's a where the depth will get to, there will be earthquake.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you so much, Chris.
Are you saying
it's that time?
It's that time, of course.
It is that time.
If we had more time, we had more things, especially with the church, the tithe.
And I see that you actually want to go an extra mile today.
I'm going to be being careful these days, since the time is always down. I shouldn't be my arsenal so much to come here. So
no, but then tomorrow is another new day.
Yes.
Another new day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria.
Of course, don't forget to go to all of our social media platforms. Go like, share. We want your comment and your own perspective on these discussions we've had. And of course, you can comment and make your discussions on the Titan. Is a big argument, is a big topic trending on social media platforms. And trust me, we are on top of it. So you can go there, drop your comments, drop your likes, drop everything. We want to hear from you. That is the much we can take on the newspaper headlines and review. Moving over, we have an amazing interview lined up for you. See you after this.
is oppression, total oppression. Be you Muslim or a Christian, there is no any religion that practice oppression. Israel has just been trying to oppress Palestinians by taking over their land by force. And then I discovered that the World Court of Law have judged that they should leave the Palestinian land if I'm communicating. And yet they insisted. And Americans who believe to be a police of the world are not helping the matter by taking side. And that is injustice. So we pray that God, with his infinite mercy, should put an end to it so that at least they should quit the land for the Palestinians. If you have been pushing anybody to the wall, it will get to a point you will react. Most of their leaders have been eliminating one after the other. So if at yesterday Iran decided to retaliate, there's no cause for alarm.
I can actually predict that Third World War is on the way coming, with Russia taking sides and United States of America taking another side. World War would inevitably happen soon, but we pray this doesn't happen. So I think that is it. We hope that both countries were able to resolve their issues amicably in order to prevent the World War III that I'm forecasting. Nigeria should stand by the truth, and the truth is glaring. Everybody knows that this particular land which they are fighting over belongs to Palestine. Everybody knows. So people should just stand by the truth.
For peace and harmony to be promoted, like they should foster a means to promote peace and harmony, because at the end of the day, that's the best option, especially as a Nigerian and as an African, because Nigeria, we are allies with the United States, so to go into the war is going to be a bad idea. So normalcy and peace is my advice to.
It's not really fair to the whole world as it is now, because there's no way. It is, for me, it is humanity thing, and injury to one is injury to all. I just say Nigeria should just sit on the fence. Sitting on the fence and we should just be neutral. We should not be against or be on support any other one another, because it's not something that anyone would like to see coming, or that we want to support a war. If it ever eventually happens around there, we have borders that might be there as well. We're Africans, and you can never can tell where it will end. You can only see the start of war, you can't see the end.
From my own opinion, I think everything about the war is political. You understand? And that might possibly lead to another Third World War. From my own opinion, that's what I think. So I think everything about the war is just political. Aside the fact that we need to stand for humanity, because the killing there, it's much. But Africa still have their own problem. I wouldn't like. Africa still have their own problem. We have Congo, we have some other countries having issues. So Africa should solve their own problem first before we talk about Israel and the rest.
I don't believe that Nigeria should be partisan or Africa should be partisan in that crisis. Fine, some African country might belong to either the Eastern Bloc or Western Bloc, but as a Nigerian, based on what I know about Nigerian foreign policy, we either belong to the Eastern Bloc or Western Bloc. Understand? So based on that, our foreign policy is supposed to be the yardstick of who are we supporting. Are we being neutral in that crisis? Are we trying to, or as a country, are we trying to make sure that we stand in the middle of the both Eastern Bloc and Western Bloc to pursue what they call peace in that region? Because what they need in that region now is peace. It shouldn't be any form of participation or participating in the war. Maybe we are siding Israel, we are siding Iran, we are siding Palestinian, we are siding Gaza or Lebanon.
Thank you for still being here with us. Well, on October 1st, 2024, Nigeria experienced another milestone when she celebrated her independence. And while 64 years post-independence, Nigeria still grapples with a few sectorial developments in the area of the economy, human rights, poverty, and so many other things. Well, Dr. Jude Ilo joins us this morning in the studio. He is an international development expert. So we're going to X-ray Nigeria and 64 through the lens of international development. Be a definition, it could
but
be.
I just to say, I mean, that term is used to connote the general and holistic trajectory of a country or of a people from one point to another. That is, how has the country evolved in terms of providing basic necessities of life, in terms of the economy, in terms of welfare of the citizens. So when we talk about international development practitioners, it's more about people who try to work in this area to ensure that the benefits of governance is getting to the people and helping create both local, national, and international system that allows for that kind of inclusive and equitable development of humankind, across the globe. So in the context of Nigeria, if we're talking development in terms of where Nigeria is right now, is also looking at things like human development indices and all of these other things. I'm not very particular about some of these terms. I rather approach this conversation more from the point of view of where is Nigeria now, and how does it affect me as a Nigerian, and what am I expecting that the country could do better. That is the perspective I can bring to the conversation.
Yes.
Because everything that has to do with the welfare, the well-being of Nigerians cannot be roped into human development, national development, local development, and whatever.
Well, of course, Nigeria 64. Some people were not even born when Nigeria started, and then they came into the system to see how the system was and how it's going. My question would be, how has Nigeria gone far from when it was? Because we hear a lot of people say that it was better, way better, at the earlier stage of Nigeria when...
was it?
Some people say. That's why I said some people say. So now, what's your take on this? Do you think Nigeria is getting better? Let me make the question straightforward. With the military regime and now that we have the civil regime.
This is this is a very loaded question, and there are so many ways to get into this conversation. So if we want to get into the technical element, we start talking about the Human Development Index, we start talking about GDP, we start talking about income parity, we start talking about earning power and all of those things. If I can't explain it to a 10-year-old.
If I can come in just a little, because quite frankly, the question is loaded. Can we conceptualize, our conversation, maybe to deal with, maybe in terms of economic stability, environmental sustainability, maybe education, maybe health, like human rights. So you could pick from any of that, and let's move the conversation forward.
I was going to say that the way I'm approaching the conversation, if I can't explain it to my 7-year-old daughter or a 10-year-old daughter, then I can't explain it.
True. So
the question I will ask myself is, are we better off as a nation today than we were 64 years ago? Now, there are no right answers, if you ask me. Because somebody can say, I remember my father telling us stories about how university students get fed.
I heard those stories myself.
But how many people were in the university at that time? As against the population of Nigeria. I've heard people say things like, oh, but the quality of education was way better. That is correct. But they didn't have a cell phone. So these are different era and different time. So my comparison wouldn't necessarily be what was then and what was now.
You're saying there are so many variables that come to play.
What I'm saying is that looking at other countries that we started with, we've done terribly.
We're talking,
terribly.
You're talking within the continent and outside of the continent.
Comparatively.
Comparatively.
If you look at where we started and when we started and where we are now.
Can you give us a comparative analysis of
yes.
between Nigeria and probably a country like Ghana or Kenya, because we actually?
No, I won't choose those countries.
Okay,
Which
country would you choose and why?
Yes. I would say something like this. When Nigeria became independent, within that same period, you had countries like Singapore.
Yes.
You had countries like
Malaysia, yes.
You had countries like Ghana. You had countries like Nairobi,
Kenya, yeah.
And in terms of the way they are perceived globally,
Mm.
right? So that tells you we missed something on the road. The quality of leadership is different. Even when you go to Kenya and look at their road network, starting from there, it's a smaller country than Nigeria, their road network, their rail network, power supply and the rest of it. There's a remarkable difference from what you get there and what you're getting in Nigeria. So from the point of view of just a comparative look, not an in-depth, just looking at what is happening around us, we're not doing as well as we should. But we also have an advantage over these countries. We've got our oil, which most of these countries don't have in the quantity that we have it. We are the largest concentration of black people on earth. We have hundreds of millions of people. How much have we invested in making sure that these human resources that we have turns our country into a land flowing with milk and honey?
Before you continue, just promise me. Now, you spoke about oil. And it's just, I'm sure you've seen and you've heard, of course, of all the back and forth from the oil sector.
Mm.
I mean, oil, we having it, of course, has given us an edge, but then our management system rather, do you think that our management system with the oil sector has been fantabulous?
I don't need to say it. We know it's not. We know it's been bad.
So is there an advantage really to us?
It was an advantage, but we misused it. So that's the point I'm trying to make. When you do these comparisons about countries, you also talk about the advantages, the things that they should have used to their advantage.
Mm.
And you know, it's not just oil. We literally have everything.
Mm. Including human capital.
Yes, which is the biggest asset. You know, Lee Kuan Yew, who was the founding Prime Minister of Singapore. In 2007, I was opportune to be in a room with him, with other people. And we asked him, you know, what makes Singapore thick? What is this thing? What is the one thing you will say was the magic wand that, you know, gave you the kind of country you've created? And he said to us, it's the human development. It's the human resources that we have in Singapore. And he deliberately invested in them. They sent thousands of young Singaporeans to the best schools in the world. And he said to us, when I send these kids out, I know some of them will not come back. But if 2, 3 eventually come back, I know what they can do for my country. Mm. So the human development strategy of Singapore was top-notch. And we've seen that in countries like South Korea, in countries like Malaysia, where government is very deliberate about the way they help young people to acquire leadership and technical skills that helps them to develop their country.
Yeah.
Okay, and then speaking about the same man, the second thing he talked about why their country was, you know, was a success story was how they've been able to use their diversity.
In terms of?
Yes, they don't have 250 ethnic groups, but they have the Malay, they have the Chinese, you know, all the small minority groups. And it wasn't easy. Keep in mind that Singapore and Malaysia were one and the same about,
yes,
you know,
yes.
But because of these ethnic tensions, they had to separate, right?
Mm.
However, it was deliberate. If you go to Singapore, you see all these high rises. And I remember him telling us that, yes, they don't have a lot of land. Affiliation to that government. The basis of our relationship is transactional and extractive. What do we get out of the system rather than what we give into the system? We've got systems, the structure of our government, the structure of our laws that are really programmed to make sure that those in power are not held accountable and that the systems are rigged for a few people. We are now at a level where our government is effectively captured. both our INEC, our legislature, and all the structures that allows for inclusive development. Our development is not inclusive. Our income gap is enormous. It is only in Nigeria and countries like Nigeria that you become a rich man by becoming a politician. It is only in Nigeria that businesses are poorer than government officials. And you can't have those kind of distortions within the system and expect that system to function. And so to your point, we've got everything we needed to make this country great. We have botched it tremendous in a way that is amazingly annoying, if I may say it that way. And increasingly, and the final applications and issues of human rights abuse, but they found a leader, and issues of human rights abuse, but they found a leader who has at least a clear purpose. His methods questionable, but at least he's providing leadership.